Early this week, the Warren Township Volunteer Fire Department had 2 incidents of drivers not slowing down around work zones and crashes and almost hitting the firefighters. They made a Facebook post on Thursday expressing the concerns of drivers not slowing down around crashes and work zones. This week, the fire department experienced 2 incidents of people not paying attention in crash areas. 2 drivers swerved over and almost hit the firefighter standing on the side of the road. Drivers are more concerned about what is happening in a crash site instead of paying attention to the roads, according to Fire Chief Mark Wile. He said if they continue having this problem, the fire department will start shutting down the roads until the crash is completely cleared.
This happens on most of our incidents out on the highway. We're always trying to get people to slow down. We've purchased some portable speed bumps, which has helped, but you still have people not paying any attention to that. If you look at the Ohio Department of Transportation, they've had 88 incidents in 2025 where people or their machinery or vehicles were hit from people not paying any attention.
For more about Chief Wile's safety concerns with drivers not paying attention in crash sites and work zones, you can visit our website at WTAP.com.